Welcome to another episode of Listen to Us Rant About Movies. I'm Wes Ford.
And I'm Zach Harris.
We rant about movies and drink while we do it. On this episode, we're going to be talking about what we've been watching, followed by in-depth reviews of Joker and Gemini Man. Tonight, we're drinking two separate beers. I've got the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Good classic.
Yeah, man. And I've got Bodum from Half Acre, India Pale Ale. It's
That
got
is nice.
A very striking label, if you can see that. I'm very into
Oh, cool, yeah.
the type and the label.
I like the type a lot.
Oh yeah, Daddy liked that type, for sure.
Well, let's give it a sip then.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man. I like this. Do they have Half Acre there?
Yeah, I've heard of Half Acre. I think I've had a
think
couple of their beers.
I think you'd like this one. It's good. It's a IPA, but it's not too like assaulting. It's kind of mellow. It's nice.
Sounds like I would like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. And you know what? Sierra Nevada, I always kind of forget about these. And then I have one, I'm like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Most of the time I avoid them, but I don't know why. It's a really pretty good beer.
It's not a great beer if you're like really thirsty and you show up somewhere and you're like, man, I'm so thirsty, and then someone hands you that one up. You know? But
yeah.
it is actually, it's extremely good. It's
a good
very
chill
tasty beer. Yeah. It's a sipper.
It's a good sipper,
not a dipper, you know.
That's right. Okay. Well, before we get into what we've been watching, we'd like to remind you this podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/LTURAM. Choose from 180,000 titles from your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. If you like what you hear on this episode, remember, you can find other episodes of our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Zach, what you been watching?
Well, most recently I saw The Laundromat, new Steven Soderbergh movie.
Very nice.
It's a Netflix film. I don't know if it's on there yet though.
I haven't seen it on my queue at least, so.
I think it comes out this month sometime, but I'm not sure when. But I opted to go to the theater since it was playing. And I don't think it was entirely successful, but it's very interesting. You could tell that Soderbergh just like took that Netflix money and was just like, I'm going to do some fucking weird shit with this, you know.
That sounds like Soderbergh, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I enjoyed it from that angle quite a bit. A lot of inventive stuff, and I think it was kind of similar conceptually to a Contagion or something, where you go into it thinking that it's going to be more narrative based or character based, but it ends up being based around the structure of like the event. You know what I mean? Like I got the sense like this is about the whole Panama Papers thing, and it really felt like they were more concerned with like informing you about this incident than like making a narrative movie. You know what I mean? Because like it starts and it's very much like Meryl Streep kind of protagonist role. And I wouldn't say that, I would still say she's probably the lead in the movie, but it pretty quickly kind of like dips and trails off into all these like tangential side stories. That's pretty cool because it's just kind of like how the absurdity of how far this thing reaches and like the expectation of what it is versus what it actually is. And like you see these like shell companies and it's just like one person in this like random place in their house, you know? So it's just kind of like dipping into the fringes, like all around kind of like what's going on and giving you these kind of like vignette-y, set piecey sort of like extended segments. So it definitely wasn't what I was expecting. And I don't think they also have Gary Oldman and Antonio Banderas as the two people who did it, explaining
great cast
the whole time. Yeah, it's an incredible cast. But some of their stuff I didn't think was entirely successful, but it was still like well intentioned and interesting. It was always interesting. My one gripe, and I don't know if it's with the movie or the presentation when I saw it, but the music was very low in the mix. Excuse me. So it's kind of like hopping around, and there's like animation and titles, and it's like feels like it should have all this energy, you know, and it just kind of didn't. And I don't know if that was a scoring issue or a mixing issue, but something with the music kind of didn't feel right. I'm thinking it's mostly just the mix. And I don't know if that's the theater or not, but it just felt very low. So if you watch it, let me know how that music mixes, you know?
Yeah, I'll pay attention to that. Definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, worth watching for sure. It's pretty short too. It's just like 90 minutes or something.
Love that he's been popping out these little films, man.
Yeah, man. It's great. Just cue them up.
Yeah. So I'll look out for that on Netflix.
Yeah, worth watching.
Definitely. All right, cool. So I'll combine some of these into one discussion. On Netflix they had all the Scream movies, so I rewatched those. Getting ready for Halloween. I've seen the first one and I've seen the fourth one. By the time I got to the fourth, they removed the fourth, so I didn't get to rewatch that one. So
bummer. I never saw the fourth one.
I liked the fourth one. I remember.
I heard it was good.
I liked it. I saw it in theaters when it came out. But I had never seen the second or the third, so I rewatched the first, saw the second one and the third one, and you know what? They're not bad, man. They're not bad movies. Like
they're probably Wes Craven's best movies, right?
Like I look back at them and like before this, I would think, oh, you know, they're not great, you know. And they're not like the best thing ever, but they're better than I remembered them being, or like my opinion of them, my view of them on the outside was that they were just like kind of shitty. And the first one's pretty decent. That's the best one out of them by far. And the second and third, they kind of slowly get worse, but it's not like very much. It's not like Halloween scale, like 4 or 5, like.
Because they get weird.
Yeah, they get really weird. They get play with. Obviously, it's tongue in cheek. You know, they're tongue in cheek with the horror genre.
Especially the third one is really meta, right? Isn't it the one where they're making the movie about it?
It's super meta. Yeah. It's the third movie that they make on it. The second one they make a movie too, but on the third one they're like on the set and everything.
Yeah.
And it is very meta and very 90s as well. But other than that, I had fun watching them. Good like Halloween pop-in movies, you know, like if you want to just watch something kind of casual. They were a lot better than I remember. So
nice.
Scream. Not bad.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I saw The Mountain, which is the new Rick Alverson movie, with Jeff Goldblum and Ty Sheridan.
Oh, okay. How was that?
It's okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the comedy again, but I remember really liking that at the time, and I really liked Entertainment. I think they're all three, I guess, are like a little pretentious, but I think that the previous two were in like a strange zone where there was like enough to make up for that for me, you know? But this one, I think he was also maybe hiding behind the sort of like comedy shield a little bit in those, where it's like he's working with comedians and it's this like weird anti-comedy hybrid thing, and I don't know. I think that's like a little more of a safer play. So then like going full into like period movie, it's Jeff Goldblum's like a lobotomist in it, and Ty Sheridan is his assistant. And it's like about them traveling around in the 50s, like doing lobotomies pretty much.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. And it looks beautiful. Love the cinematography. Love the staging and like the language of the movie, like the way it was edited. It kind of has a Yorgos Lanthimos or like Roy Anderson vibe, kind of like somewhere in there.
Okay.
Which some of my top tier boys, but
Yeah.
yeah, it just kind of lost it for me. Dennis Levant is in it from Holy Motors. I don't know if you've seen that.
I
He's in a
haven't.
lot of Leo Carax movies, but um, he's very distracting, and it kind of just becomes like the storyline kind of transitions, and it kind of just becomes him like monologuing about stuff, and it's just like not that interesting to me. I don't know. Anytime
Yeah.
that the movie kind of like devolves into just someone monologuing, it's like not as interesting as like watching something happen. And like
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm against monologues, but like monologuing for a very long time. You know what I mean? Like 10-minute
Like
scene of
too
just
long.
him talking, where he's like and he's an interesting actor and I like him a lot in other things, but it just didn't really jive with me. And I guess I get what it was trying to say, but maybe not entirely because I didn't really understand the choices that was informed by that whole section. But
Hmm.
I would say it's still worth watching. From like a technical filmmaking perspective, it's incredible. I loved the look of it. Ty Sheridan's extremely good. Jeff Goldblum's very good. The score is cool. Like I liked a lot of it, but it just kind of lost me near the end, and I didn't really
Yeah.
know like what to do with it. And I know it's also kind of like intentionally, it's like kind of transgressive and like intentionally off-putting, and like that's kind of his style. But I was
Doesn't
kind
quite
of
land the mark.
yeah, I was anticipating that, and it was off-putting in a way that wasn't like I just don't get why they made that choice. So I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough.
Glad I saw it. I was pretty curious about it, but it's
Saw
not.
in theaters.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Um. Awesome. So next one I'm going to talk about is I watched In the Tall Grass on Netflix.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of this?
I have.
Yeah. It's based on the novella by Stephen King and Joe Hill. Definitely has a strong Stephen King vibe. Which is it's a positive for sure. But overall, this movie does a lot of cool things, but it doesn't quite make it work in the end.
Yeah.
The plot kind of meanders and has a big fart at the end, and it's kind of a shame too because it looks great. Like this field that they shot in was awesome. Like the whole thing is in this field, and for what I appreciated, like something just in like a tall grass instead of like the usual cornfield. So that was kind of different alone. Just to see a movie within this tall grass was really interesting, and it does introduce some really neat ideas, like some concepts where they're kind of trapped in this extra dimension, and there's some like history there I won't give away. There's some cool ideas, but it doesn't make sense of those plot elements, and just sort of seems jumbled near the end. The acting also is not the best. Several of the main actors are not very good, so that kind of ruins it too. But one thing I definitely really liked about this is Patrick Wilson. You get to see him kind of go off the deep end, and that's pretty entertaining to watch. To see him like go all out is pretty fun. So if that sounds interesting, it's worth checking out. I just didn't think it was like very good, but it looks good in 4K. They do a lot of cool shots within the grass. I thought it was well directed for that and that perspective, but other than that, it just kind of fails on the story perspective.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
But I've been craving some new horror. It's some.
Yeah, man.
I want to see what Netflix gives me.
Well, if you're looking for new horror, dude, you should check out The Fanatic with John Travolta, directed by Fred Durst.
It sounds like I should, yeah.
Have you heard about this movie?
No, I haven't. Is this new?
Oh, right, yeah. It's a 2019 release. Fred Durst directed, John Travolta starring. I watched it. It's very brutal.
Yeah? Did you like it?
No. And I was going into it like anticipating it for it to be really funny, and at parts it was, because it's John Travolta playing this guy who's on the spectrum, and he's obsessed with this celebrity, this movie star, and goes a little too far once he gets his address.
Sure.
So it's like, it is funny because there's this John Travolta performance of him, like, this is his vision of someone on the spectrum. Like, this is what he thinks they're like. You know what I mean? So there's this weird line there. But
that's funny.
Then it's also like, you're watching it and you just feel bad because you're just watching this movie where it's just someone with this mental disability just, like, not understanding and, like, ruining their life. You know what I mean? So it's just, like, it made it, like, it was a real cringy watch. Like,
Yikes.
It's pretty rough. It
probably was, like, interesting on paper, but not very well executed kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just, and it's, like, Fred Durst directed it. And I can confirm there are Limp Bizkit references in the movie. Confirmed. Oh, God. It's like a scene where they're driving and he's like, "You like Limp Bizkit?" and, like, turns it up. It's just like, oh my god. Yeah, it's amazing. That was worth the rental fee alone. It definitely goes really far. Way farther than I thought it was going to. There are some genuinely creepy things in it. But it's also just like, why make this? Like, why are you making this? You know, there's this movie where it's just like a guy with a disability being creepy. It's like, this isn't a good idea for a movie. You know, like, don't do it, please. Like, and that was also something I like. I was like blinded by the Fred Durst of it all, and like only set in seconds into the movie. Like, we started watching it and, like, a bunch of people came over, we were all watching it, and it was just like set in immediately that I was like, this is not gonna be fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like, this is gonna be bad. Like,
oh man, it's got some pretty bad scores.
Oh yeah, it's awful, man. It's like,
the poster is horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yikes.
John Travolta's name in the movie is Moose. Gives you an idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty brutal. The Fanatic.
Oh man, good stuff. Kind of want to check it out of curiosity.
Honestly, if it comes in Netflix, pop it in for a sec. You know what I
feel like I gotta be like, I should like drink some beers beforehand and.
Yeah, probably.
That's awesome. So I recently had some friends over, because I purchased The Shining in 4K.
Nice. I did as well, but I have yet to view it.
Yeah. So I saved it and we had like a little watch party. We had like themed drinks, like we had Jack on the Rocks and, you know, ice cream and stuff. And, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, but The Shining, man, that 4K disc looks great.
Yeah.
Like, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Nice.
I was kind of blown away how nice it looks. And it was just really fun to rewatch one of my favorite movies in this new format type of thing. We had the speakers up real loud. It was like a theater-like experience here at my apartment, and a lot of fun. We had a blast. And yeah, not much else to say other than it's fucking great. And got me in the Halloween spirit. It's good stuff. Yeah, and
it's a banger.
I'm pumped too because I mentioned last podcast, I'm listening to the audiobook of Dr. Sleep.
Oh yeah,
it's the sequel. So I've been like really into this world right now because I've been listening to that. So I watched The Shining. So now I'm all pumped for Doctor Sleep, and so yeah, good stuff, man. You bought it. That's awesome. You're gonna be happy with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I was out of town over the weekend, so I got it and then left. So I'm hoping to get to it this week.
Sweet.
I watched Tales from the Hood, which I've always wanted to see. Which was a pretty good anthology movie. I thought it was fun. I liked it. Lot of very heavy subject matter being treated in a fun anthology horror format, but also for the time, I don't think there were a ton of things addressing these issues, so it's good to have something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought there were pretty inventive ideas for the shorts. Some of them I thought were legitimately creepy, and it was just fun. It was a fun anthology movie. I liked it. Not a ton to say about it, but worth a watch for sure. I kind of wrote it off when I was younger, when I was really getting really into horror as something like cash grabby, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they had released Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror around that time when I was in high school. So I for some reason thought it was associated, this is lame, but it's actually just pretty good. It's just a pretty good,
nice,
solid horror movie. 90s, very of its era.
How'd you watch it?
I think it was on Prime.
Okay.
It was on something, because I was trying to watch it last year, but it was nowhere, and I was blown away. I couldn't even rent it, I was what the fuck? But I'm pretty sure it was on Prime. Maybe it's on Shudder, because I have Shudder as well, so it could have been on that. But it's integrated with Prime, so I never note which it's on. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure. Sweet, man. This is a good time to have Shudder then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Shudder is really good, but I don't use it because I just already own most of them, which is bad.
You should probably stop that.
Yeah,
that
it's
subscription.
just I just go on and man, they got a great selection on here, but I own all of these on Blu-ray. You know what I mean? But then every now and again there'll be a Tales from the Hood where it's I would rent this for $5. You know what I mean? Right now, so
right.
Whatever. I think it's $3 a month or something.
Oh, really? That's not that much. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Speaking of renting, my wife and I, we rented yesterday, which was $6.
Nice.
On Apple Movies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious about this. Danny Boyle, Beatles, love the Beatles, big fan. I thought it was a really cool concept too, based on what I'd seen from the trailer. And that's about it. It's a good concept that's not executed very well.
Danny's a crapshoot, man. You never know with that guy.
I know, it's so bizarre. Sometimes I love his stuff, sometimes it's just not very good. I'm kind of amazed alone at probably the rights that they spent on all these songs. We're talking so many Beatles songs.
Shitload, yeah.
In that respect, it was really entertaining to watch and fun. But that's what I liked about it, was the music.
Yeah.
It's you take that out, there was nothing much, there wasn't much left. So that being said, I don't think it's a very good film. The characters are very surface level. There's no depth. They kind of force this very weird love story. And there's some Ed Sheeran involvement throughout the movie, and I'm not a Ed Sheeran fan at all. Mm-hmm. So that kind of bothered me how much he was involved with the film. I was oh God.
Yeah, don't need this.
Yeah, don't need it. Don't want it. So yeah, that's really it. Danny Boyle, it's I feel like he's been failing lately, and it's a real shame.
What are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
What are you gonna do? I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone unless you really just want to like jam out to some Beatles music.
Yeah,
That's about it.
put on a record.
But even some of the covers were like kind of bad. Like there were some like covers they did that were just like not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like but yeah, cool concept. That is it. Cool concept. Great music. Nothing other than that.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
The last thing I watched is a horror movie from the 70s called Alice Sweet Alice. Also on Shudder, I believe. But it's like a girl, I think she's like 12, and she gets murdered, or maybe it's the younger sister. Yeah, the younger sister gets murdered on her first communion. And it seems apparent that the other sister did it. So then it's kind of like a thriller, kind of like a slasher about them trying to figure out like what's actually going on. But there's something about it. It deals with religion a lot, and it's just very unsettling. The kills in it, I feel like this kind of era was still... It was, like, still while movies were trying to be scary, but also, like, the kills had been starting to, like, ramp up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it didn't kind of fall victim to, like, the overkill sort of, like, crazy showcase of murder that a lot of the slashers are. You know what I mean? Where it's, like, people getting killed in insane ways. But it was just, like, very effective, you know? Just, like, shots of, like, knives being, like, stabbed through someone's foot. It's like, you know, like, oh!
Nice.
Like, yeah, it's pretty effective. I didn't think it was, like, incredible, but I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was a pretty effective little, like, slasher movie. It's worth watching.
Nice.
It's creepy. I feel like
cool.
not a ton of movies I watch and, like, are actually kind of, like, creepy or scary, but...
Yeah.
I was definitely unsettled by it.
Nice. Last one I'll talk about is El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie.
Nice. I haven't watched this yet.
Did you watch Breaking Bad? Are you a fan of Breaking Bad?
I never watched Better Call Saul, but I watched Breaking Bad.
You watched all of them? Nice. Yeah, I've only seen the first season of Better Call Saul, which is good. I don't know why I haven't finished it. But yeah, love Breaking Bad. Pretty big fan of that show. Although it's been years, so it took me a little bit to like kind of recollect some things. But I like this movie. It's good. It's really entertaining, very intense. But one thing I don't like about it is it's not much. It's not so much as a movie as much as it is just like a 2-hour long Breaking Bad episode.
That's what I figured. It's like if you're gonna make a movie, like make it a movie that like comes out in theaters and is like a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it didn't really feel like that, based on what I saw.
It doesn't feel like a movie at all. It just feels like a really long episode. That's it. So that is kind of a bummer, and I would have liked to see like an actual movie out of this. But that being said, it kind of wraps up Jesse Pinkman's story after the finale. Picks up where that left off and gives like some closure to his character. He's very good in it. Some of the things that happen, some of the scenes and the set pieces are awesome, and I was really surprised by some of the action as well. So if you have watched Breaking Bad, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, definitely watch this. If you haven't seen the show, don't watch this because you'll have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
I did appreciate. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I saw something where they were like, "You don't need to have watched the show to enjoy this movie." Like, it definitely helped, but like, and I was like, I don't know. Seems like you probably would have had to watch the show to enjoy the movie.
You would. You definitely. I would say that you would have to. which is a weak point for the film because it's not. I don't really even consider it a movie. What was I gonna say? Shit.
Sorry.
No, I don't remember. But I will say another point is some great Easter eggs, some great characters that return. Nice. And it was cool to see some familiar faces and some of that play out. So there's some flashbacks to some things, and it almost becomes sort of a Western at one point, which I really was surprised by and enjoyed that element of it. So worth checking out. El Camino. Oh, this is what I was going to say, is they put a like a recap of like the whole show that has to deal with this movie before. So that was kind of nice. Yeah. It kind of like reminded me of stuff. I was like, wow, I forgot about so much of the show because I haven't seen it in years. So that was nice as well. So yeah, definitely check it out. Nice. Worth watching. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm planning on it.
That'll be it for me.
Well, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Well, we're going to move into non-spoilers for the much debated, highly anticipated Joker, starting right now.
Can you please stop bothering my kid?
Sorry.
Arthur, I have some bad news for you. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you? You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
And finally, in a world where everyone thinks they can do my job, check out this guy.
When I was a little boy and told people I was going to be a comedian, everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
You can say that again, pal.
It's so awful, isn't it?
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do. And people are starting to notice.
Think this is funny? Is this a joke to you?
In Gotham City, mentally troubled comedian Arthur Fleck is disregarded and mistreated by society. He then embarks on a downward spiral of revolution and bloody crime. This path brings him face to face with his alter ego, the Joker. That's a description from IMDb. Zach, I don't know how we should start this. Should we talk about, well, I guess, general thoughts? What'd you think of Joker?
That was all right. I didn't love it. I do think it's kind of problematic.
I hear you.
But I'll say that there's a lot of good stuff in it. Like, Joaquin's performance is very good. Like, too good for the movie, almost. And, like, the production design, the score, the look. Like, there's a lot to like, but it never really came together in a meaningful way for me.
I know that this film is complicated, but did I enjoy myself watching and experiencing this film? Yes. Do I think that there are some potential problems with it? Yes. It is not a perfect film, but it has a lot going for it. And I do think that some people are perhaps a bit too critical of the things that have come out of this film. I do think, too, and even for me, I walked into this thing with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth just from Todd Phillips and his recent comments right at the release of the film. He said some things.
Yeah. Well, also just...
And he's Todd Phillips.
Like, not who I want to make it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And I get what people are saying. Does it suck? No. Is it a bad movie? In my opinion, no, it's not a bad movie. In my opinion, it's not.
No.
In fact, I think it's a rather well-made film, and it's shot very well. The score is great, and Joaquin Phoenix is just an absolute master. He's insane in this movie, and it's one of the best performances I think he's ever done, for sure. I think it's one of his best things that he's done. He's one of the best actors. I think he's probably one of my favorite actors ever, but he's also, I think, one of the best actors we have right now.
Oh yeah.
And I think he's a true artist, and his performance goes beyond the capabilities of this film. Some other positives, I think this is a good direction for DC. They need to get away from the Marvel stance and create their own thing. And I like and respect that they didn't tie this into some universe. This is a standalone film, and it's inspired by. It is. Well, we'll talk about that, but it's not tied into like the larger, like, No. It's not like the DC extended universe. It's like they don't call it.
Not yet.
We'll see. But yeah, overall, I liked the film. I don't think it's a bad movie, and I think there's a lot to like here, and I really, really want to see it again just to get a better perspective on it.
I just part of me did enjoy watching it, but it's also just like so fucking dark that I don't know how anyone enjoyed watching it, including myself. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's weird.
I think it's Joaquin Phoenix. I think it's his performance as this character, and it's very pretty. It's a pretty movie, despite the ugliness that's in it. It's shot really well. I love the soft focus, and I do think there are some moments in the film where the plot kind of doesn't know what it wants to do, and I don't like some scenes that are like, I feel like they could have just cut some of those out. So like I said, it's not a perfect movie, definitely not, but I feel like it's getting more hate than it deserves, I think.
Yeah. See, I don't know if it's
getting
getting
what
hate.
I've seen on the internet, it's gotten a lot of hate.
I feel like I mostly see people just
people say that too. I mean, people are saying it's amazing, best film ever, but I have seen more negative than positive.
Interesting. I feel the opposite. Maybe we're just looking at different spots, you know what I mean?
I listened to a couple podcasts on this movie, and almost all of them dislike the film. Actively dislike it.
Interesting.
Critics,
yeah.
So, I don't know. It's weird. Robert De Niro's in this movie. I will say that I don't think he's well cast. and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I like
watching him. I liked it, but was it a good choice? I don't know. Especially because it's a little winky towards a very major influence.
Yeah. I also like some of the production design where it's kind of neat. It's great. It's kind of New York, but it's kind of not because it's Gotham, so it's sort of its own thing. I liked that. Yeah, it had great production design.
I thought his laugh was very effective, and the card that he hands to people.
Yeah, that was
like
great.
That.
And that's a real disease. You can look that up. Like, I loved that they played into that. And here's another thing I'll say. It kind of leads into the main points I think people dislike about the movie. And maybe some of the problems with it are the things with mental illness. And I can see how, yes, you know, it may shed mentally ill people in a bad light. But I think the point of this film is to show, like, if you're going to make a origin story for the Joker, what would that be like? It would be a guy probably going crazy. Of course it's going to involve some mental illness. Of course it's going to involve some things like that. I don't know how that would be, like, I don't know how anyone else would make the film without having that come into play, you know?
Well, because it doesn't really dive into any of it, though. It just, like, is that he's mentally ill, but, like, what... Like, he just talks about being mentally ill, but, like, what is it really saying about mental illness? Like, I think there's still a way to tell the story and frame it in a way that says something. I think that's my biggest problem with the movie, is I didn't
That's
think
what
it
a lot of
said
people
anything.
say.
I didn't get anything out of it that... It just felt really empty. It's just like, okay, so, like... It's like The Wolf of Wall Street or Goodfellas or, like, something like that, just, like, with the end cut out. Just like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, that was fun, but, like, I don't get, like, what the point is.
Fair enough. I like... What I think was trying to be said was, if it's about anything, it's about, like, mental illness isn't, like, being treated well enough. The whole thing where... Well, I don't want to get into spoilers. Maybe we should just get into spoilers. Yeah, we're
like
tiptoeing stuff.
around a lot.
Obviously, we both have kind of complicated feelings about the film. Neither one of us, like, hated it or, like, really, really loved it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
If you want to hear more, and you've probably seen this film by now, if you care at all, you can listen to our spoilers starting right now.
One small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker? Send in the clowns.
If I were to say this movie was about something, I thought it was about... I mean, if it has to say something, it's mental illness doesn't get enough attention, doesn't get in this world, it's not getting the funding that it needs. He doesn't get his medication. Sure, it's not realistic in the sense, like, of what medication he's on or whatever. Like, that many drugs during this period of time would be too many. He'd be catatonic, whatever. You can nitpick every film to a certain degree, to where I think some people have been nitpicking this to the extreme. But it's a fucking movie called Joker, so I don't know. There's a certain limit you can, I think, nitpick on something. And
yes and no.
I don't know. It's like
I feel like this movie, one of my problems is that I feel like it's kind of having its cake and eating it too, because it's saying that it's, like, not a superhero movie. It's like, it's something different. It's not a superhero movie. And it's like, okay, sure. Like, it is different. It isn't like the other superhero movies. But then when it's like, well, where's the accountability of, like, portraying... If you're, like, your goal and your theme of this movie is to, like, raise awareness about mental illness, why would that be a movie where a guy goes mentally ill and just murders people? And then it's like, well, it's a villain origin story. It's like, but I thought it wasn't a superhero movie. You know what I mean? So I feel like the argument's, like circular, where it's just like, it's trying to be different, I get that, but it still is beholden to the genre. So if you're gonna use that to write off its responsibility, it is what it's saying it's not.
No, you're right.
Does that make sense?
You're right. I can't disagree with that. It's like, you have to, because it's called Joker, and I'm a huge Batman fan. I love Batman. Some of my favorite comics I've ever read. My favorite superhero is Batman. So I have a little certain love for this world. But I agree. You should either go one way or the other. I wanted to see some of the things that were comic booky because I like this character. So I got a little happy when I saw the Wayne stuff. Although I feel like one scene when he goes to the mansion shouldn't have been there. I like how it tied into the death of the Waynes. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was neat. And I'm glad it wasn't Joker because it wasn't ever Joker.
Yeah.
But yeah, to finish this point is I agree that it's trying to have its cake and eat it too or whatever. And it probably should have been about one thing or the other. It should have been, honestly, with what it should have been just like a really gritty superhero movie. Like it was almost there, but then it was like, nah, I don't want to be a superhero movie. It had to go one or the other. It had to go one way or the other.
Yeah, it seems like it's like in a weird zone where I don't know what awareness it's bringing to that subject because like there's never anything aside from his laugh. There's never anything like initially brought up. It's like everything is such. I feel like it's the opposite, at least my opinion. It's not, although I definitely have one nitpicky point. It's not like the nitpicks that bothered me. It's like the broad strokes. Like I thought the details were done very well. Like certain things about the production design, about the performance and his mannerisms and the way he acts. Like all the like details were very well done. But then like stepping back, it's just like, why is it this?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand. It seems like it like snowballed to a point where I don't get why we're there. It just seems like a weird movie to make. I just don't really get it.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of it is, I think it was probably initially more of not a superhero movie, and it's DC, and they're like, as a studio, they're like, well, if we tie it more into the comics, we'll get more money, and it could lead to other things. This is an IP we want to bank on, which it made a ton of money, so we might see a sequel. We might see it tie in somehow, because the fucking if there's a way to make money, studios are gonna fucking do it, you know.
Which is kind of annoying though, because it's like the whole point is to like be different, and then instantly the weekend after, like Todd Phillips being like, "I'm not interested in doing sequels." It's like, well, you directed Hangover 2 and 3, bud. So like, chill the fuck out. You know, you're not like Kubrick, bud. You can like relax for a second. And then like Joaquin Phoenix, like the Monday after it came out, being like, "I think we could definitely do a sequel." You know, it's just like, well, I thought the whole point was that it wasn't that, and it doesn't tie into that, and he's not going to be with Robert Pattinson.
I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be standalone, man. I do.
Yeah, I think, like, I feel like the way it turned out, it makes more sense if it's not, but also that's dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't want it to be that, because...
Yeah. I know, it's kind of like a sticky situation because it's like it just didn't fully commit to like what its initial idea was. You know, it just didn't fully commit to that, probably because of studio influence and money. You know,
I don't want to be too judgmental here, but I also think Todd Phillips is not a graceful hand to make this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly don't know if he knows, like, what it's about. What's the goal? If the goal is just to make a soup, like we were saying before, it's kind of like pick a lane. It didn't really get into anything, and I don't know, like, I saw this interview with him where he's just, like, the theme of the movie is, like, smiling.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was weird.
You know, like, you sound like a high schooler. You know what I mean? Like... And it makes sense. I mean, he directed School for Scoundrels. But it feels like a bit of a desperate attempt in that regard. But I'm also trying to not be, like, too judgmental on someone's past stuff. Because, like, I get that if you want to make other things, you should be allowed to, like, evolve and grow.
Agreed.
But it's just... I don't think he was necessarily a good choice to helm this like balance. Or maybe if there was a better editor, maybe they could have like massaged
I
something
feel like
more
it's
out
just
of it.
almost there too, you know? Like it's just it needed some like it needs like a re-edit and it's
Well,
like
I think
there, you know?
I feel like for me it could have been there based on like the last scene. Like I don't think I would have been like, man, I fucking loved it. But it just felt like they made their point and then they just like made their point again and then they made it again and then it was over. Like the movie plateaued and they added nothing to the conversation with the buttons that they tied after. You know?
There's some weird editing things too.
There's no and there's just like no come around on it. There's no, and I'm not also saying that like I need like a plainly stated moral about how it's bad to kill people or anything, but like there was no interesting way to like recontextualize what you've seen. It just was what you've seen. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how much more there is to the movie aside that I could get out of multiple watches.
Yeah, other than some of the theories that people have been throwing around, which was purposely left, ambiguous, is like his actual past, which in one respect I like that because no one really knows where Joker's from or anything. Like it's always been a mystery, which is kind of the problem I came into when I first heard about this movie being made. Was like I didn't like the concept at first because I was like, I don't want to know Joker's backstory because he's never had one and no one knows who he is. But then whatever, we accept that. Let's see where this goes. And I like how it teased the different ideas of, oh, he's Thomas Wayne's son. Oh, he's not actually. But maybe he is. I like that playful kind of ambiguity and that not quite clear understanding of what actually happened because he's insane. So I feel like that was kind of cool. There's some cool stuff there. And for a Joker movie, if you're talking about the comic book Joker movie, that's kind of cool because that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just gets a little wonky, I guess.
Yeah, it's also just really mean-spirited.
You think?
I felt like. Yeah, I mean, just like very violent and graphic, and the jokes on the like little person that he works with, like
that wasn't cool. That was stupid. That was like,
especially using it in the context of the scene where he murders that guy. And then he, like, knows that he can't reach the handle and uses it as, like, a weird fear tactic. It's fucked up. Like, I don't need to see that.
Yeah, that was weird.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because they use it as, like, a weird way to show how bad he is, but then also to, like, let him go because he's the only person that was nice to him or whatever. But, like, is that just an excuse so you can, like, make 8 jokes about him earlier in the movie? Like, did they just think, like, oh, well, they're clowns, so we should, like, get someone like that in here? It just felt weird. It's just, like, it felt like frat humor. It's just, like, yeah, this is the guy that directed Old School, I guess, having these weird jokes.
Yeah, like, I didn't mind them having, like, a little person in there because it was, like, a weird clown thing, whatever. But then, like, making, like, stupid, like, high school jokes about his size was like, overplayed.
Yeah.
And
it's like, do you know that you can cast those people and just, like, not reference it? Like, these are just people, so, like, if someone's different, you can cast them in a movie and not.
It's also just, it's 2019.
Just, like,
it's 2019. Those jokes aren't, like, funny anymore, you know? Like, it's just not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like another thing I didn't like either. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm trying to think about what do you think about the Gary Glitter dance scene?
Gary Glitter. What do you mean?
The like The scene
On the
where he's
steps?
dancing on the steps and it's playing the like arena rock song.
I didn't like the music choice, but I liked the scene.
Yeah, it was weird because I was like so taken aback. I was like, "This is kind of good." But then it wasn't.
That's how I
you
feel
know what I mean?
too.
Like, and it was like such a bold choice that I like responded to it, but then realized like actually this probably isn't good because you just immediately fade into exactly what I thought this scene was gonna be, with like the slow like music.
Yeah, I didn't like
and
that
stuff,
transition
and
there.
I don't know. I felt like that's kind of a good like micro way of just like displaying how I felt about it in general, was that I feel like you respond to bold. So like at first, and I also do think the movie was better in the beginning. Like I liked the beginning.
I agree
more.
with that.
Respond to bold. You know what I mean? It's like it's a big swing. So like I'm always appreciative of someone doing that over something that's just like boring. You know what I mean? But the more you get into it, it's like maybe I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like maybe I don't know why this is here. Like, or not that I necessarily dislike it, but like why is it here? I just didn't. I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Another thing that was like, it's on the same kind of fence we were talking about earlier is like, are we talking about something that's completely different, or are we talking about comic book Joker? Is if we're gonna go the comic book route, I can't see this guy becoming the Joker that would one day face Batman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally. So it kind of like fails. It fails
as like that
story.
Character's origin. Yeah. Is this guy like, he's not like insane? Well, he's insane, but he's not extremely genius level intellect, which is what like the Joker character really is supposed to be. He has these elaborate crimes that are confusing to everyone. He outsmarts the greatest detective in the world. Like can Joaquin Phoenix's Joker do that? I don't see that. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, and it's like, I guess with time, but also he's pretty old in the movie. Like it doesn't quite line up in the universe, which is then why I was a little disappointed that it felt kind of beholden to the universe at a certain point. Like I honestly I didn't mind the Thomas Wayne connection with his mom. That stuff didn't bother me, but I did not like the killing of the parents. Yeah. No, the Bruce was like, Bruce was borderline. If that was it, I would have been like, okay.
You didn't like the parents.
But no, I did not like it. Because in the context of that movie, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why would this couple, high profile couple, go see Blowout?
No.
At 11
they were seeing Blowout. I
PM?
thought they were seeing Zorro.
Or there was a Zorro movie, but still,
the Gay Blade.
They go to see a movie in the middle of a riot at like 10 p.m. What is that? You know what I mean? That's my main nitpick, is just like, I get it because in the moment, like it's developing the way that you've seen.
It shows the
like,
other side.
Oh, whoa, it's this like big reveal, but it's like, this riot's been going on for hours. Like, why would they go to this theater in the middle of a riot and bring like an 8-year-old boy? You know what I mean? To see like a Zorro movie or Blowout?
I kind of like the concept of seeing the other side of that crime, though. But I see what you're saying. Again, in the context of the movie, though, in the context of the film that it's like basically trying to say this whole time, it doesn't make sense to have that in there. But that's why it has to choose one or the other. Is it an origin story, or is it just like this standalone film about this guy who becomes this thing called the Joker? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's very effective, but I don't know how much of that is just its boldness. Like the scene on the talk show is
Very,
so
yeah.
intense. And it's super effective. And when he gets shot, everyone was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my fucking God." You know what I mean? Like it's
very
so
violent.
intense. But it's like followed up by him like talking into the camera and like all this stuff.
Yeah, that was
and
weird.
then it's just I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, I didn't think it was like for what it conceptually is. I didn't think it was like a horrible execution of that. It's like done pretty well. But I'm just very surprised, and I guess I shouldn't be because it made what, 250 million the first weekend or something, that it went through so many people, and like that's the movie I saw. You know what I mean? Like this got funded for millions of dollars. People executives watched this edit and said it was fine. And now this is playing at literally like every single movie theater. Everyone is like playing it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And on one hand, it's kind of cool because it's like, I can't believe they got this movie made in the studio system.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But on the other hand, it's kind of irresponsible. And I don't think it's necessarily like anyone's responsibility but like the filmmakers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't say that I actually like Todd Phillips as a person. I'm not really a fan of him as a person. It is an odd match. You had this like superior performance by Joaquin Phoenix. It's just it's a very complicated thing. There's so much going on, you know.
Yeah, he's really good. Like Joaquin is amazing.
I thought like his mannerisms, it was like interesting to do like the dance thing. Like where does that actually come from? I'm not sure, but it's kind of weird enough to where it's like kind of cool. Just like the bathroom scene, just like the dancing. Where's that come from? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I liked the scene of him dancing more later than the bathroom scene. The bathroom scene felt like slightly little pretentious maybe. Because I like get it, but I don't necessarily buy at that point that he would do that.
That's fair. I did like the whole thing with the mother and how she was crazy. I thought that was cool. I just don't think it's like, I think people are being too sensitive about the mental illness thing. I'm just gonna say that because this is Joker we're talking about here. Of course he's gonna be crazy. Of course. Yeah. Of course he's gonna be insane. But yeah, no, it doesn't. I agree that it doesn't say anything about that. But it's just kind of it just sort of makes sense to me. Like, of course he would be insane, and these are the things that would lead up to him breaking, people being mean to him losing his therapist, losing his medication. Of course, these are things. If you're going to talk about a Joker origin story, you're going to talk about how he goes up and becomes that maniac, and he loses all sanity. What are the things that would lead up to that? This is what would lead to that.
Yeah, I get.
So I
get that. I just think that if that, it's just maybe not a good idea. You know what I mean? It's like, if that's what it's going to be, then like maybe I don't need to see it because it's like what I already knew. Because while I enjoyed watching his performance in terms of like, it was very impressive, and while I enjoyed the cinematography and like the score was cool, it just, I didn't enjoy it. It was terrible.
Oh, it's a terrible thing, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like super depressing and bleak and awful. You know, like, and I'm not saying that movies can't be like that, because I like plenty of movies that are bleak. It's just, I don't know if I'm gonna feel like that, I want something back. I don't want to just feel like shit and then be like, I guess it's the Joker. Yeah, he's fucked up, right? You know what I mean? Like I didn't gain any perspective from the movie. It just made me feel
Let
like
me
shit.
ask you this. What do you think is the difference between that and Taxi Driver?
I think Taxi Driver, I mean, it's definitely way more contained. I think the fact that he becomes a hero is more of an observation about culture than the fact that he just becomes one. Like, I don't think he necessarily is like trying to become a hero in that movie.
No.
You know what I mean? I think there's these inklings of his character where you can tell that he just like cannot relate to people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I not to say that's not present in this movie, but I think it all depends on the end. You know what I mean? Like the way that you spin it at the end, and the fact that when you're watching Taxi Driver, I don't want him to go and fucking kill all these people, and I don't want that in Joker either. But the fact that it's twisted in the media perspective, it's like everyone missed the point. You know what I mean? And that says something about what happens in the movie. But I think in Joker,
I mean,
like,
let me just interrupt you
uprising,
real quickly and just say, in Joker, he doesn't try to become a hero or an icon either.
He embraces it, absolutely.
I guess at the very end, yes, he does. You're right.
I mean, he's into the fact that people are into it. I mean, he has a fantasy about a girl telling him that he's a hero. And I think there's a difference between society recontextualizing something they don't know about versus the internal view of a character who just like gets a gun, kills people, and then is a hero. Like actually one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there a way, because Joker's not a hero, he's a villain, right? He's a villain.
Yeah, but he's a hero in this movie.
But how do you think, well, I guess, what would be the best like end result for the Joker movie?
Just not make it. Like, I just don't need it. You know, I just
but
like, don't need to watch it.
All right, what if you had
know.
control of the ending of this movie? What would you want it to be?
This is the problem, because it's beholden to the genre. You can't make up an ending that makes sense, because it's tied to the fact that he becomes a villain in a hospital. Like, it has to end that way.
The hospital thing was,
you know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't really get it. It's just like, so he runs around and he's just like crazy in a hospital now, and I
think the point of that was like, I'm not saying it succeeds. I'm just saying I think kind of the kernel of that was sort of to be like, to make you think, oh, maybe this whole thing was made up. Because a lot of the things is like, this is real. Oh, this never actually happened. This is real. Oh, this never actually happened. So I think kind of the idea with that, with the hospital too, is like, perhaps he just made up this entire thing.
Whoa, I guess I didn't really process that. But maybe I was also kind of out at that point. Not out entirely, but like, it just felt like so many endings.
There were a lot of endings.
Just like, I was waiting for it to cut to black. Like, every cut, I was like, this is it. Nope, this is it. Nope.
Yeah, they're like,
you know what I mean?
3 or 4 different endings. But I think that's an idea that's thrown in there.
I think what could make it work is just everyone forgetting about him.
Like forgetting about the movie, you're saying?
No, in the movie, people forgetting about the Joker. Because, I mean, and this brings up a whole new topic, which is hard, but because I don't necessarily think this movie needed to be like censored, but like, it is a movie about a guy who fetishizes a gun, murders people, becomes a hero. And I'm not saying the movie is like bad and like a horrible thing to be around, but to the right viewer, that's pretty bad.
You're right.
And like, I don't think it's the filmmaker's responsibility necessarily to make something that caters to literally
I think
every
that's
single person.
dumb to consider it in like that perspective.
Yeah. It's like, because people can
Anything.
recontextualize anything to fit it. If you are that far gone where you're gonna hurt someone, like your mind is to the point where you can pull from any
Absolutely.
influence, you know. But that being said, I do think it's worth, if you're doing this, it's worth saying something about it, because then the stance from the filmmaker, it's like, we made a film about mental illness, check it out. And then people are like, hey, but what if mentally ill people watch this movie and it's bad? And you're like, hey, mentally ill people, not my problem. And it's just like, well, that's what your movie's about. You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah, you bring up a really good point. You're right. And that was kind of the situation I thought about too going into this, was like, yeah, I mean, I'm afraid, like, especially with all the terrible crimes that are happening nowadays in their fucking country, is like, these lonely, crazy white guys with guns are shooting up places, and yeah, it's kind of a concern, especially in this day and age, to have a movie like this about a lonely guy with a gun who's crazy, and society's against it, and nothing is his fault per se, because society has society itself has forced him into this position, and he is a hero at the end, and it's definitely problematic. I'm not even going to argue with that.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm saying that like Warner Brothers shouldn't have released it or something. I'm just surprised they did. It's like the movie is bold, but it's shocking, but it's shocking that it like exists. You know, like I'm just like really surprised.
Yeah. I think if this movie were to do the right thing, I think it should have been one or the other. Should have been like an origin story, or just what would have been really cool, honestly, is if it was called Joker or whatever, and it was kind of about a guy who became the Joker, but it wasn't beholden to the Waynes. It wasn't beholden to the comic books. It was a standalone movie, and it said something about mental illness, and it said something like, oh,
yeah,
he did all these things. He's a terrible person, and he's crazy, and he needs help. And if it said something about that, which again, it kind of does with mental illness, his hospital's not being funded, his psychiatrist isn't, they shut down all of that, and I get that, and that's saying stuff like, oh, this is really important because people like this, it could be a danger to society. But making him, quote unquote, hero to a whole group of people at the end because of what they saw in him, that's not right.
Yeah, it just kind of needs some sort of like I was saying, I don't know how you would make that happen, because you'd have to like jump time and it'd be a weird thing, but just like people forgetting about it and being like, oh yeah, remember when we were all like into that fucking nutso, you know what I mean? Not to call it nuts, but it's just like there's nothing, it doesn't come back around, it just ends. And I like bleak movies. Points of view that are bleak I enjoy a lot of the time, but there's just something about that seems like, why did I watch it then? It's like you fucked me for 2 hours, and then you just like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like it left a bad taste, and I know that's intentional, but if there's something to reflect on with that bad taste, then it makes it worth it. But I didn't find very much worth beyond the like surface level stuff that was good, like the score, the cinematography, things like that. Like the performance was very good. It's enjoyable to watch, but I also don't necessarily think that this character or storyline would necessarily meld in with like a Batman. Like a Batman being there would be fucking weird.
Yeah, it would be
You know
fucking
what I mean?
weird.
In
Absolutely.
this context. But it kind of just goes back to like, I get why it was made. I understand. And obviously they were right because it made a shitload of money. But I just don't know. I don't know why I need to see it.
And I'll just conclude, too, by saying all that stuff being said, I just want to reiterate that I did enjoy my time watching it. And overall, like, I personally enjoyed that experience. I walked out thinking about it, and I was like, I think I liked it. But, yes, there's all those things we talked about. And that's what makes it a really complicated movie to discuss. And I feel like we could probably keep going on and on and on. But what kind of rating would you give this movie? Wow.
2.5.
Okay. I'm giving it 3.5. I think for me alone, personally, I think that surface level stuff has value. The look of the movie, its performance, the music. I think there's a lot there that's good, and I think that gives it a base layer to go off of. And I mark it down from there because of the complications that arise. And and there's certainly complications.
Yeah. One other thing that I forgot that we didn't get into. Real quick, if that's okay. Zazie Beetz' character, why did I need to see shots from all the scenes?
Yeah, it's like we got the point.
It was the most obvious thing ever that was not a real relationship.
Not a good edit.
If you stalked someone and then they were like, hey, were you like stalking me? And then you're like, hey, you want to go on a date? And they're like, yeah, maybe. We'll see. And like walked away. It's like, what? You know, like...
Yeah.
Very goofy.
Well,
I just forgot to make that point.
And then like the very end where she walks in and goes, you're the guy down the hall. And then they show all the scenes. And it's like,
it's just like, I no, she's not.
It's like, I got it at that point.
I mean, she's real, but the relationship isn't real.
Yeah.
It's like, I very much understand that. That felt like studio notes where they're like, I don't get it.
You gotta like tell him again.
Yeah, because this single mom would definitely think a murderer on the train's a hero. She's like, I think he's a hero. It's like, why? Because he murdered 4 people and shot them in the face? You know what I mean? Like, why would you think he's a hero? This is insane.
All right. That's going to conclude our review of Joker. That was exhausting almost. But we got another review.
It's a lot, yeah. Yeah, especially because I was like clinging on to my memory of it. I feel like I'm like kind of removed. I went on a trip last weekend too, so I feel like
I am
removed
too
from it a little bit, you know.
But anyway,
but before we get into our next review, Wes, I want to discuss that deal again.
Man. Ooh!
Whoa! You hear that?
Was that?
Whew, that's not the deal. The deal is you can smell my burp if you come here. For the listeners to the Listen to Us Rant About Movies podcast, Audible's offering a free audiobook download with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So to download your audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/LTURAM. audibletrial.com/LTURAM for your free audiobook.
Let's do our non-spoilers for Gemini Man. Starting right now.
Gemini Man!
When I saw him, it was like I was seeing a ghost. Like every trigger I've ever pulled. How'd he start you? Hunting, birds, rabbit? I'm guessing 19, 20 years old, the first time he ordered you to shoot a person. 25 years ago, he took my blood. He made you from me. He's been lying to you the whole time. He told you you were an orphan. And of all the people in the world to come after me, why would he send you?
So here's the description from IMDb. An over-the-hill hitman faces off against a younger clone of himself. That's it. that's a one-sentence description from IMDb. Gemini Man, directed by Ang Lee, starring Will Smith, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Clive Owen. So Zach, how'd you see this movie?
120 FPS. 3D,
Nice.
baby.
Did you see it in a Dolby theater? Okay,
Yes.
Yeah, me too. This was my first experience in a Dolby theater.
I think it was mine
It was
too.
fancy. It was nice.
Yeah, it was crazy. The seating was nuts.
Yeah.
It was like extreme,
Like different levels.
like
Yeah.
steep. Yeah, very steep.
Yeah.
Did you have a little glass bar above the
No.
footrest? Nightmare. Because there's, just to rant
Yeah.
for a second, there's the recliner chair, right? So you recline and your vision's going down.
Oh, that's annoying.
And because it's so
Right.
steep, there's this like knee-high wall until it
Yeah.
drops off. And then there's about 1.5 feet of glass that just covers the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I didn't have that at all, man. That sucks.
So I was just like sitting up in a recliner the whole time.
Oh, that's
Weird.
annoying.
It's like, get this shit
That's
out
annoying.
of here. But anyway.
I will say the presentation was great. Like the screen was very vivid, very like really good contrast. Like the blacks, the whites were great. And the sound was freaking awesome. The sound was amazing. Their speakers lined up on the ceiling, along the walls. So I'm definitely gonna see more movies in Dolby. And I also saw it in 120 frames per second. There's only there's like 10 theaters in the United States that are showing it in this. And Zach and I both saw it in that format in 3D. And off the bat, I'll just say 3D was probably some of the best 3D I've ever seen.
It's fucking amazing.
It is an
Honestly, it's
incredible
so good.
presentation.
Like,
This movie was
yeah.
like a really amazing tech demo, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of weird. Like every now and again when it would have a wide, it was just like the depth was so insane that it made it feel like these people, like I remember the train station, there's that first shot where it like arcs down. I was like, are those people like green screen in? Just because everything's so deep and
So
crisp. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It was
The 120 frames is like, it's so insanely crisp. And
it looked incredible.
Not that I would want, honestly, I don't want other movies to be like that. Like, I don't want every movie to be in 120 frames per second. But it was a really interesting experience to see that, you know.
Yeah, it was almost the wrong thing to be in it. You know what I mean? Like, I think they like shoot like a Planet Earth movie in that, and I will be there day one because that shit was incredible. Like there's the shot where the person falls off the boat in the water. I was like,
that water.
This water.
It looked really cool.
It's like I could just watch like running water in this 3D for like 2
hours. The 3D looked
the
3D looked awesome, dude. And a lot of the complaints you get from like regular 3D, like at regular 24 frames or whatever, it's like hazy, it's dark, it's like doesn't look great.
Headache. Adjustment time. I feel like it takes me like 20 minutes to 30 minutes to like normalize.
Yeah.
And honestly, instant.
Yeah, instant.
Like within 1 to 2 minutes of the movie playing, I was just like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
It was incredible. Technically incredible. And then the movie starts and it's like 3 or 4 minutes in, and then there's that fucking wide shot. The like shot of the train that's like boxed in.
Yes.
Do you remember this? The like panorama? And I was like, this movie's incredible. Like, I already love this.
And then we
So
watched
weird.
the rest of the movie, and I'll say that I didn't think it was very good.
Yeah, yes.
I didn't think it was good at all.
Yes and no.
I love the tech. That is it. Except, well, that's not true. That's
really?
not true.
You didn't. Yeah, there's some
cool
in there,
action
man.
scenes, and
yeah, the dirt bike action scene
that one's
is
cool.
amazing.
And the one in the
Very
crypt
good.
is cool too. Let's be careful not to do spoilers, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what this movie is, you know that there's a young Will Smith. It was even in the description, and I don't think that was always effective. I feel like we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet.
It's a crapshoot though, because sometimes I would look at it and be like, "This is unbelievable," and other times I would like see him in a crowd and be like, "There's a CG person."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there was no in between. Like when he first showed up on the bike, it looked so weird.
Yeah,
because the bike's like moving like this, and he's just
and
like
he's
kind of like
CG.
teetering back and forth, and it was so strange. But then you see him like pop up in the scope, and I was like, "Holy shit, that looks so good!" You know, like certain times,
some look great.
It looked incredible, and then I don't know, was it the lighting? Like, what was the factor that made it look like shit? Because half the time it's like photoreal, and half the time it's absolutely fake. And
most of the time when he's
understand,
not moving, it looks fantastic. But whenever he's actually physically moving, it looked very obvious. It was like a video game.
I don't know though. Sometimes the parkour stuff looked really good.
Yeah.
Like when he's like jumping off the roofs and stuff like that. But then whenever they're fist fighting, it's kind of like, there's just not an opportunity to shoot that in a way that's interesting in this format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like it kind of downgraded as the movie went on. Because they have like this like balls like out action chase set piece, like pretty early on, if not like halfway through.
Right.
And then it never reaches that point again. You know what I mean? Like the crypt scene was cool. I liked it. But like it's not as big as that.
That's true.
So it kind of blew its load in the sense that like I really enjoyed it, and I was like, honestly, this movie's fucking amazing. Like even though it was like kind of stupid, like
the beginning was
at
pretty
that
rough.
Point, it was
in my
simple.
opinion.
I don't know. It was simple enough that like it wasn't like trying. It wasn't like shooting for the stars. It was just like really simple. It was just like Clive Owen just being like, I think Gemini Project is on this one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like all these like stupid lines where it just like cuts them and it's like, okay, sure, like whatever, you know. It's really A B, sure. It's an action movie. But then it kind of started to it got a little ahead of itself, and it also got a little less visually interesting to the point where by the end I was like, I'm sleepy. Time for this movie to be over.
For sure. I thought so. Like the characters were kind of just like they're thrown in there. They're doing things because the script says. You know, like Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Absolutely.
She did fine for what her part is, but what is she doing?
What's
why?
her part?
Why is she around? I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And also the fact that they like tease a romantic relationship with her and Will Smith, and then like back off it later in the movie, and it's like, no, that's weird. It's like, well, you were very much indulging in that like 15 minutes ago, you know.
Absolutely. You're teasing it the whole time.
Like he literally says like, she's like, have you ever been in a long-term relationship? It's like, no, unless I count you. What? And then later in the movie, he's like, no, I'm not attracted to you.
It's
what
like,
are you
no, that's
talking
crazy.
about?
Oh, well, not me. Maybe a younger version of me. It's like, that's what he said. Like,
it's like, yeah, it's like, you're being a little creepy there, Will. Come on, bud.
He was so Will Smith in this movie. Just like, reflective, and you know, he knows everything too. Like he always has a lesson to give. That's so Will Smith. Yeah. He always gives lessons, you know. He's like, oh, well, I felt the pain of the war. Well, really, the war just feels your pain. I don't know. I made that shit up, but But you know what I mean? Like, he talks like that. He's like, nah, but you don't know the real pain unless you stay up. Those demons, those ghosts. You don't know the ghosts. It's like, okay.
All right.
But anything else to talk about before we get into spoilers?
I liked the scene where young Will Smith eats an ice cream cone for no reason. That part was good. It was a really good scene. I feel like there was something else I wanted to bring up. I can't think though. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like generally, Ang Lee is someone who kind of maybe similar to like an M. Night Shyamalan or someone like that, where it's just like they're not like old, but they're like a little older school filmmaker, had some bangers, they're good, and they're maybe like slightly out of touch with like what's going on, but it's always interesting. Like there's some angle that's like making it worthwhile. Yeah, you know, that like even when it's really dumb, like there's a lot of dumb stuff in this, but it just was fun. You know what I mean? Like it's not shooting so high that like it's above it. You know what I mean? It kind of reveled in it a little bit, which made it more fun. And like I enjoyed watching it, even though it was not great. You know? Yeah. Like I thought seeing it in high frame rate 3D was super fun. Like I agree. Really, I had a good time.
I definitely had a good. It was a good experience. Like and the audio was fucking awesome.
Totally. And I had to drive like 40 minutes away and paid. It was like $21.
Same for me. It was crazy. Yeah.
But like it was worth it, even though the movie wasn't great. Like and I think there's something to be said about that. Oh yeah. Like it's a total experience thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't like if I had waited and then been like, I'll check out Gemini Man on like when it's on HBO. I'd watch it and be like, this movie fucking
it wouldn't have been nearly the same
I mean?
at all. Yeah. That's definitely part of the experience. Like if you're gonna go see this, you should go see it in like the way that they're trying to present it. And this really ultra technological experience, you know.
Totally. Which I'm based on that experience, I'm very in on 120 frames per second.
The 3D was amazing. It looked fantastic.
But that being said, because like when we were on our way, my roommate TJ, who was with me, he's like, dude, it's playing at the Regal right by our house. And I was like, not in 120 frames, it's not. You know what I mean? But it was playing in high frame rate 3D, but it's 60 frames per second high frame rate 3D. So then I'm curious to see a side by side, because while I think the 120 was fucking amazing, like I watched it and I was 30 seconds in was like, this is
it looked so good.
I mean? I don't know how much better that is than 60, because my last frame of reference was like 4 years ago.
Same.
When I saw The Hobbit.
That was 48.
Like, and that was 48 too. So like, I don't know. I'm curious. I'd be very curious to see like a comparison, or if two movies came out like within a similar time and I could see them at the same theater. You know what I mean? Because I don't know like how much the advantage of 120 is over a 60 or a 48. I'm assuming it's a lot, because I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean it's.
But do you get what I'm saying? It's like the frame of reference is hard because I'm so removed from the last experience that like I don't know
I feel
how it measures up.
Yeah, I mean I've never seen a movie in 120 frames before. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, we did the math and it was like 800,000 or 840,000 frames.
Like the whole movie?
Like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was just curious to see how many frames it was. We were joking about the frames.
Can you imagine the 3D on that too? It's like they have to create each frame for 3D, and the fucking digital effects. That's daunting.
It's crazy. Yeah, 100, like 5 times the amount of frames.
Extremely
for
daunting.
Any effect.
A lot of
Yeah,
work, man.
So many. Because I'd assume that there's like a computer generated effect in like over 50% of the movie.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So there's definitely a lot of work poured into this thing. All right. Well, do you want to get the spoilers?
I guess one thing I could say before spoilers,
if
that's
course.
okay, is there was an interesting angle that I feel like the 3D made it look so, it was like visceral and it looked real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like a realness to
Definitely.
the image.
It was not cinematic in that sense.
Like when I was,
in my opinion. It was like, it's more realism. Yeah.
It's weird. So like that's why I was saying like this is perfect for like a Planet Earth or like a documentary or some weird experimental thing. Like, but I don't necessarily think it's not good for movies, but I do think there's an angle where you're watching something and it feels real, and then Clive Owen is in like a very goofy outfit wearing like why am I not he's wearing like a long like trench coat with like a popped collar and all black, and it's just like in any other movie I probably wouldn't have thought about this, because it's just so like, okay, I'm watching a movie, who cares, it's the future. But something about the realism aspect of watching it in the 120 made it feel kind of stupid.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't quite match up with like the product they're selling, you know? It's like,
yeah, it's just like, this is kind of boneheaded.
Because it's so realistic.
And it feels kind of dumb. Yeah, it's a weird line, because like it's this future kind of sci-fi action movie, but the way that it makes the action scenes feel so visceral kind of backfires when they're not there. Because
when they're just like
every
talking
time
to
someone
each other.
delivers a line, like when Benedict Wong or whatever is talking, it's just like, well, that's a comedic line being delivered. You know what I mean? Like, you just like feel the fact that it's a movie so much because it feels so real, honestly. Like, and not necessarily in the execution of the filmmaking, but just in the like initial like physical reaction to like what you're watching. Yeah, you know, it's really weird. It was a very weird experience.
Yeah, it was. Definitely don't regret it at all. And
no, I'm in.
I can't. I'm honestly got to see more movies in Dolby.
Yeah, man. Get more people in that 120. Get Aang going around.
Come on, Aang.
You know, getting people on the horse.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that like we had the Hobbit movies high frame rate, and then that sort of died out.
Well, he made Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk, which I never saw.
That's true.
That
but like,
was
what
high
else
frame
is
rate
there?
3D, which is
what else?
That's like it, man. I don't know.
I think that's honestly it.
Sidebar. Let's look. It's all list of films with high frame rates. Okay. Wow, this is crazy. 2. All right, so I'm looking at just a list of high frame rate movies. First 2 movies, 1978, 1983, both by Douglas Trumbull. 1992, 2001, 2012. Like, quite the jump. I know Douglas Trumbull was like into that stuff, which is kind of interesting, but I didn't know he made anything like that. Hobbit, Billions, Halftime Walk, Meridian, Flamenco, Detective D and the Four Heavenly Kings, Mandarin, it's a Chinese movie. Gemini Man, Avatar 2, Avatar 3.
Okay. Gotta see it in that.
No frame count, though. No frame count.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 60.
Yeah. Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk was 120.
Wow.
I thought that was 60.
Wow, I did too.
I thought this was the initial 120.
Wow, I guess that's not the first 120 then.
Man, I can't believe I missed Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk. Fuck! Dude, I can't wait for like 6 years until Avatar 2 comes out, the next movie in high frame rate 3D. So I can not like the movie and just
keeps
be like,
getting pushed
3D was
back.
sick,
It was
though.
supposed to come out like this year, and then it was supposed to come out 2020.
Honestly, it's not coming out, dude. It's not coming out. It's never gonna exist.
He plans on making 4 more.
It's so
Why?
stupid. Like, not to get too off track, but James Cameron's kind of a fucking idiot because, like, how removed are we? Like, we're 12 years from Avatar by the time it comes out. No one cares,
No
man.
one cares.
The people that, like, saw Avatar that loved it are older and they don't have nostalgia for Avatar. I'm sorry. Like, it's not there. No one gives a fucking shit. Will I see it?
Yeah.
Probably. But
exactly.
It'll make a bunch of money, but, like...
All right, well, let's get into spoilers.
All right. Yeah, spoilers.
All right, start right now.
I am just an icon living. Look what we created.
You were the inspiration for all of this.
Why not just make a whole army full of them? Why not?
You should be flattered.
You should be dead. I am just an icon living. This has to be stopped. Because what if somebody actually knew what we really are?
All right, so most obvious thing ever that there's going to be a third Will Smith.
Oh, yeah. The most obvious thing, dude. All right.
But how good would it have been if it was an old Will Smith and Will Smith was a clone?
Dude.
I wanted to see, like, the mask get pulled off and, like, big beard, like, gray Will Smith. You know?
Yeah, that would have been fucking baller. That would have been way better. Because it's so...
Yeah, I would have been really into that.
So this is what happened in my theater, by the way. So that assassin breaks in. Because you see Clive Owen go, oh, hand signal, go in. And he starts... Mm-hmm. So the assassin goes in. Immediately, I'm like, that's a young Will Smith, right? Like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
They reveal it. Like, literally, I think 50% of my theater went, oh, when they revealed his face. And I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, totally.
It was like, was that not obvious? It was pretty obvious. But, man, that would have been so much cooler if it was an older Will Smith.
And then he's a clone, and it's just like a long line of clones. It's like been happening forever. Would have been so
That would have
good.
made the movie a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah. My theater didn't do shit because I think there were 2 other people.
Oh, man, really?
No one was
I had
there.
a packed theater.
Yeah, no
Packed.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Nice. I guess I saw it on a Monday, though. I saw it last night.
I saw it Sunday night.
Okay. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, so talking spoilers. I guess there's not much else to say.
Honestly, I don't know what else to say because there's not a lot of stuff to spoil. I guess I will say I laughed very hard at the end when Will Smith goes, I know a good place for lunch. Let's go. And they all are going to lunch.
Dude.
But honestly, like, it's bad.
It's so bad.
The fact that that's my reaction, it's like I enjoyed it
because
so much.
that was your reaction.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like, it's not. I don't think like that stuff is very like super good.
It's horrible.
But it was just so fun. Like, I had a really good time watching the movie. Like, even though it was so stupid,
it's
corny,
so corny.
Like the stupid cracker. Like this cracker bit that they have, like, yeah, the cracker's funny. Let's get those crackers.
Oh yeah.
Benedict Wong's like, can I get one of those crackers?
Oh, they're.
It's like, what is this cracker bit? Like, get this bit out of here.
Old crackers, they're expired. Oh, this still tastes good.
So stupid. Like, so many goofy ass.
It's such
things
like a
that.
forced camaraderie too. It's just like.
Oh, absolutely. like, thanks for coming back for us and like helping us out. It's like, helping you out with what? You could just fucking leave. Like, now you're just roped into all this. Like, he could have just left you and then nothing would have happened.
Now you're just wrapped into this whole
you're
thing.
in
And BD Wong just comes in. They need a pilot, so.
Yep. Yeah, it was very silly.
It's a very silly movie.
But fun. I enjoyed it. That fucking dirt bike scene is killer. It's so
pretty good. Yeah.
Like and something that this is where it gets into the point where it's like it's a different type of filmmaking where like I guess you can kind of ties into all that like shit Scorsese said about like Marvel movies or whatever, where it's like high frame rate 3D movie, action movie. It's doing like first person.
Yeah, there's some cool shots in there.
In a movie that I saw that was just a 2D action movie and that you do like a bunch of first person, it's like, all right, who cares? I don't need this. But the 3D made it amazing.
It looked great.
Like seeing the first person and you can like see the person and you sense the depth through a tree. Yeah. Like it's incredible, you know? Like, and this like video game mentality of making a movie, I feel like this is the thing that makes it worth it. Like this is the movie to do that in. Not something that's like just, you know, not I guess run of the mill, but just like a blockbuster. Just any blockbuster, I feel like a lot of movies fall victim to that sort of like video game mentality, and it's kind of annoying, and I like don't like it. But like this is the time to make it like that because it's fucking good. When you like watch it in this context, I think that's like it's really
that's what makes it work.
Know?
Is having it in that format. 120 frames with that 3D, and there were some really unique shots, like some of that first person stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. There's definitely a lot of good value in there. The story sucks, but I think there's some really cool.
It gets ahead of itself.
It's really cool technical aspects to it.
Yeah, like the shot where he first gets on the dirt bike, and it's like super wide lens, and it's like right behind him, and he just keeps hitting alleys and hitting cars and turning, and it holds for like a long time. And then it's like tracking to the side and then pulls up next to him and it's this crazy shot. Like that was super cool to see in 3D. Yeah. But a scene of like him giving flowers to Mary Elizabeth Winstead and then like making weird jokes, not as cool to see in 3D. You know what I mean? Like it felt really weird. And that kind of comes with the territory, I guess, of like feeling it out. But I think what it lacked in execution or like the final product, it made up for in the fact that like it's really trying and there are like very interesting ideas in it. You know what I mean? It just seemed like it was like, oh, like I want to do this technical thing. I'll do this one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It didn't necessarily like need, this story did not need that context. I think if they kept it a little more simple and it was like 90 minutes, it would have been like lean and fun and probably better. But it kind of got a little ahead of itself and just too complicated. Whereas in the beginning, they're keeping it simple. It's like, hey, people are going to kill Will Smith. Clive Owen just keeps saying that the Gemini Man will handle it. And then the Gemini Man comes. Boom, that's your movie.
If they kept it that simple, I probably would have. Yeah, I would have liked it a lot more for sure.
Yeah, because then it's just a fun action movie, and it's more about the experience of like seeing it. But once they tried to get all this other stuff in, and it just gets a little muddy and ahead of itself. But
another thing I want to point out too, just to like back to that assassin scene, like at the end, where the flames in that looked great.
Oh,
I mean, it looked like a video game, but it was real. You know, it was like mostly real.
Yeah.
I know there's some CG in there.
Totally.
But, it looked great in that frame rate in the 3D. And like I was saying too about Will Smith, the young, when he's not moving, looks pretty good. but at that last scene, it's so obviously bad. Like it's
fucking brutal in that last
dude.
scene. That last scene is just brutal in general.
But especially because it's like this guy's fake. It's like a fake.
Yeah,
person.
I know a great place for lunch.
Oh my god, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's. I will say though, like, it was bad. Some of the shots of him, but as an entirely computer generated character, it is impressive.
But there's stuff that looks
not
good.
Successful,
there's stuff that's
but it's
not
impressive.
Yeah, it's not. We're
Yeah,
almost there. You know what I mean? Like we're not quite there yet, but it's getting closer.
Are you? How many bullets are you sweating for the Irishman?
Oh man, a lot. I've heard some things about the CG in that one.
I'm going next Thursday. I'm excited.
Man, already, huh?
It's playing at the film festival here.
Nice. That's a little early viewing there.
I'm sweating.
Oh man. I hope it's good, dude.
I do too. It will be.
I feel like it will be. But don't get your hopes up too high.
Marty. Yeah.
But
those 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And Marty I trust, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, one more thing I kept meaning to say was young Will Smith, aside from some of the things, like, yeah, I kind of looked like him here and there, but I'm not sold, like, overall, like, that was a younger Will Smith. It felt like a computer-generated fake version of him.
And the voice felt like him, like, doing a voice. Like, it wasn't authentic.
Wasn't sold on that being an actual younger Will Smith.
No. I think that comes with the territory, though, of, like, trying... Because this was not mocapped, right?
Some was, and then a lot was CG. Like, straight CG.
Yeah. Yeah, just entirely computer-generated. It feels like a very well-intentioned experiment that I'm, like, in on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm glad
I respect it for that.
But, like, I think normal audiences going to see it for the fact that it's like a Will Smith tentpole will probably be disappointed because the movie isn't that great.
Yeah.
But, like, the experience of it is very...
I would say you have to see it in that format. Otherwise, like, if I saw this, like, at home in 2D, I probably would have turned it off halfway through.
Yeah.
Probably not, but you know what I mean.
I would have finished it, but I would have been disappointed. It wouldn't have been nearly as good. It was funny. It started, and I was like, interesting. This looks pretty similar. Like, the logos.
Yeah.
And then the one, like Asian co-producer logo came on, and it was in 120. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, there we go, baby.
That was where it was, like, the first one. I was like, oh, now I can tell. You can tell the difference.
Yeah, totally. Just like, here we go, baby.
Here we go. Here we go. Then that first train shot is like, whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. I guess my biggest complaint with the movie is that there weren't more wide shots like that one train shot. I was taken. I was just like, hey, throwing this in there? This is so weird, bud. What are you doing? Like, I'm in. And I was just, like, hoping for more weird shit like that in it, where it was just, like, cool. Because that's just, like, a cool experience thing. It's just like, yeah, you're here for 3D. Here's a weird shot. This is part of the experience.
I'm for that.
Know? But it didn't really do that that much, which was kind of
And, again, I love the sound. Like, every bullet, every shot was like, boom. Like, it shook my seat.
Yeah,
it literally was shaking my seat. Yeah, just from the speakers. Yeah. Anyway, cool experience. What do you rate it?
Going 3.5.
Oh man, 3.5. Oh buddy, I'm gonna go because of the experience. I'm going 3.
Yeah, without the 3D, it would not be nearly as good.
You're counting. You're counting in your experience.
To factor in. Yeah, because that's part of it. Like, you know what I mean?
If you see it in that, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's also the way it was intended to be seen.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Which is hilarious because how many people will actually see
Not
it
many,
that
yeah.
way. But, like, it felt like it was a vehicle for him to try this. Like, push it further. Like, obviously, I guess now we know he tried it before.
Yeah.
But a way for it to, like, push it
but
further.
This is bigger because it's with Will Smith. And
yeah. I think it deserves a lot of cred for what it did technically.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
It's a really good experiment.
Like, to the point where if something was playing in high frame rate 3D at that same theater 40 minutes away, I would go to it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it would make me, because when I saw The Hobbit, I was like, that was cool. It made the 3D better.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was weird seeing it for the first time. I was like, whoa, is this?
But, like, I was like, I want to go again to see something in that. You know what I mean? Like, I was in on it.
True that. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see another 120 right away, but I mean,
Avatar
yeah,
2,
I guess.
What a fucking
But
lame
that 3D was so
guys.
nice. Best 3D I've
Great.
seen, hands down.
I would say it's
In a film.
very, yeah. I saw that Long Day's Journey into Night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you said you loved
That
that.
might have been the best. That it was not high frame rate, but it was very impressive 3D. So it's maybe tied with that.
Okay.
For me.
Fair enough. All right, man. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. As always, you can find other episodes of this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube.
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and if you enjoy the show, consider leaving us a review on iTunes, because every rating brings us more listeners. You can email us at listentousrantaboutmovies@gmail.com.
Thank you to our Patreon producer, Sean Pierce, and our other Patreon supporters. You too can be a producer and or supporter of this podcast by visiting our Patreon page and becoming a monthly patron for as little as $1. Visit www.patreon.com/LTURAM podcast. That is it for this episode. That was a good one, Zach.
Yeah, man.
All right. Until next time.
It's fun. Until next time.